When you open Smode, you can create two different types of files here. Shows, which are complete projects, so this is the most complicated file you have in Smode, but also the most comprehensive. Or a simpler type of files, which are compo. That's what we'll focus on in this video. We are going to create a new compo. Click here. You'll find yourself with this setting window, which we can customize later on, so for now, we'll stick with the default settings and click OK. It will open up this interface. To explain it briefly, here you have your files, the ones you'll be using in your composition. Here is the preview of your composition. And here you have the element tree with your layers. Every time you want to create a new layer, you'll import or create them directly here. And if you want to customize the parameters of these layers, you'll do it here. Let's take a first example. I'm going to try to create a small composition based on two images. These images are in a folder called Pictures here. So I have a background and a hot air balloon right here. If I want to use these two images in Smode, I won't be able to drag and drop them directly into the software. I'll have to integrate the folder containing them into my files here. To do that, I simply drag and drop the folder containing them into the media directories over here. Then I click OK, and you can see my Pictures folder has been successfully integrated with my two PNG images. From here, I can drag and drop these images into my element tree to start compositing. So here, I'm going to take my background and drag and drop it. I end up with an image that is much larger than my composition canvas, which is in HD, so I'll simply resize it. To resize, I can zoom out in the viewport using my mouse scroll wheel, and then you can see I have helpers created, which I can use to resize my image. If I hold Ctrl-Shift-Alt, I can resize while maintaining the aspect ratio of my image. I'll place it at the edge, like this. And then I will integrate the hot air balloon. Drag and drop, and it ends up there. So one key difference we'll notice compared to other softwares like Photoshop or After Effects is that here you can see the layer order in terms of rendering is the opposite of what we are used to. My background image is at the top of the list, but it's rendered underneath my hot air balloon image here, which is actually rendered on top. Keep in mind that in Smode, each of these layers become an instruction to give to the graphics card. And the instruction given to the graphics card will be, first I calculate this image, then I calculate this one. So if I render the background.png image first and then the balloon.png image, the balloon image will appear on top of the background image. So I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to resize my hot air balloon image, and just like this, I have a composition. If I want to animate my visuals, I can create a timeline by clicking Create Main Timeline. We can do this by composition, so this is one composition, and I can create a main timeline for each of my compositions. I will simply click the Create Main Timeline button. This timeline will allow me to automate certain things, meaning I can animate them over time, specifically automate parameters of my layers over time. For example, here, if I select the balloon image, I can animate its position along the x-axis. I will make it move back and forth from right to left. The X position control is located within the parameters of my layers. Now, even though I'm searching, I don't see anything related to the position here. Why? Because I'm actually in the Generator tab. These are the generation options for my layer, meaning what I generate. What I'm generating here is the image balloon.png, and here what I'm generating is background.png. The position settings I'm interested in are not in the Generator tab, but in the Renderer tab. And here you can see I have anchor points, position, scale, rotation, etc. If I want to animate the position, I drag and drop the parameter into the timeline. This allows me to create keyframes, just like in any other compositing software. Here I can create a keyframe at this point, and then a little further, like around 5 seconds or so, and then move my balloon all the way. And from there, if I play on my timeline, I end up with this animation. So we can make it move a bit slower, maybe around 20 seconds. And then I can also select my keys and change their interpolation. Instead of linear, I can switch to an ease, sinusoidal for example, which will give my animation a little more dynamism. Okay, so when this is done, we can move on to a slightly more elaborate compositing. For example, I'd like to add a large title in the background and blend it with the scenery. To do this, I'm going to create a new compo within my current compo. In other words, I'm going to right-click in this compo, and in the layers category here, I'm going to create a new compo layer. This compo will be my title. In this compo, I'm going to create another type of layer, which will be a text layer. And I will change the content, title. In the generation options here in the generated tab, I'll be able to change the size of the font to something quite large, something like this. I will put the balloon on top of this compo. And what I want to do here is I want to create a mask that allows my title to blend nicely into the scenery. To create a mask on a layer, in this case I'll do it on my compo, simply right-click on it and you'll see the mask category, which allows you to create as many masks as you want. The one I'm interested in here is the Bezier mask. It allows me to draw directly with Bezier points in my viewport. If I select it, in my viewport this edit button turns blue, which means it's automatically activated. Now all I have to do is to move around the viewport using the scroll wheel and press Ctrl to start creating my mask points. I'm going to do that quickly. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's really just to explain. Then I'll close my mask by creating outlines like this. So from here my text blends nicely, and this way all the media I'll put in this compo will be cut by the mask. I'm just going to tweak these points a bit. I just lower them, and same for this one and this one. If I ever want to have a slightly blurred outline around my mask, I just need to select it, and in the general category of settings, I can add a little feather, which will allow me to blur the edges. I can also control the position of this feather with the percentage next to it. From there, if I want to animate my title, meaning create a fade-in effect for my title at a certain point in my animation, I can simply drag and drop the whole compo. This creates a track, and if I select it, I have a fade-in option that I can check, which will automatically create a fade-in in my timeline. So if I want my track to start at 5 seconds, I can just move it and that's it. It could last longer, like up to 20 seconds. Let's say our timeline is 20 seconds long. Here I'm going to change the duration of my timeline by entering 20 dots, which allows me to set it up to 20 seconds straight away. So we're gonna save this composition here or here, whatever. And to export my video, all I have to do is to go to File, Export Video, and choose the codec. I click OK, and my video is being exported. And here I can see where it's been exported. So we end up with this compo directly exported from Smode.